So why am I standing here like Roy McAvoy from Tin Cup, like an idiot, with all this stuff on? Well, I'm going to show you. Today we are going to talk about X factor stretch. So the X factor, many of you have heard of before, and that term has been popularized by Jim McLean, one of the all-time best swing instructors. X factor simply is the difference between the amount of trunk turn or torso turn and the amount of hip turn that we have. So the angle between here and here is going to be my X factor. So we do have to turn the hips to get a full shoulder turn. No one's going to get that 90-degree shoulder turn or past 90 degrees without a fair amount of hip turn. As you can see, I've strapped this around my pelvis so you can see how much hip turn I do need to have in order to get a really full shoulder turn. So this is just to give you an idea of what X factor is. The X factor stretch is what you need to increase your speed and driving distance. So the X factor stretch is when we take that X factor and actually increase it in the downswing. So it's when we're going into the backswing, and as I'm getting the top, I'm actually starting with my hips first. Okay, we just released a video on the hips first and the importance of that to get effortless speed. So hips first has a big factor in this distance equation. You can click on the link in the description to check out hips first. But as I move, you can see how that angle from the top of the backswing really increases if I get the hips moving first. This is the X factor stretch. It's essentially us taking the elastic energy in our body, much like this right here, okay? So this elastic band, and I'm pulling it and stretching it and stretching it, okay? So if I was to just hold my finger here and just hit my thigh as hard as I can with my finger, I'm not going to be able to create a lot of force there. But if I pull my finger back like I'm stretching that elastic and just let it go, you could probably actually hear my finger snap on my thigh as opposed to that. I can get a lot more force if we use that elastic energy. So the X factor stretch is where we're going to increase that elastic energy. It's like a slingshot effect. It's pulling more on the rubber band, or if you think of a bow and arrow, the X factor stretch is how we get that extra distance. It's a big factor for efficiency and speed in our swings. I'm going to show you some exercises today, exercises that are going to help you achieve a better X factor stretch. First things first, we need some mobility. When we're doing rotation in the trunk and the arms are getting away from the body, we want to look at these big muscles down the sides of our body, the lats. So these lat muscles, okay, if they're tight and restricted, are going to limit your ability to make that big turn. So if you can't make a turn in your trunk, you're going to limit that X factor and X factor stretch. If I don't have good mobility through here, as I go to turn my hips and open up, my upper body is just going to come along for the ride. So again, if you imagine that post on my hips and trunk, and if I'm tight through here, it's all going to come through together, and I'm not going to get that increase in angles between the hips and the trunk, and everything's going to come through here and going to lose speed and power. So we need to address the lats. Easy way to do that, I just want you to find a door frame here. You could use the corner of a wall, door frame, a post in the gym. You're going to grab onto that and just stand at arm's length. Hook your hand onto that, get a secure grip, and it's going to be at shoulder height. Then you're just going to sit back, hinge back from your hips, pushing your hips back, and I want you to lengthen your trunk and spine so we're not rounding the back. As we do this, you're pushing your butt well back behind your heels till you feel stretched behind your shoulder here. You might have to adjust where the grip is, maybe a little lower, a little higher, till you feel a stretch back here. If you don't feel a stretch, you can push this hip back a little further and straighten this knee a little bit to increase that stretch. Now remember, once you feel that stretch, make sure you breathe, okay? Inhale, hold it for a second or two, and on the exhale, let your body sink into it a little bit more. Breath in, and I'm going to exhale and stretch through here and reach. Inhale and exhale. We can also work through an active range of motion, stretching out this lat, getting this hip to drive back. So you can do that for about 6 to 10 on each side. Once you've done that on both sides, and again, for a right-handed golfer, the lead side is going to be really important for you. So make sure you do both sides, especially your lead side for that lat stretch. Let's take a quick second to talk about our golf performance assessment. This assessment takes only 5 minutes, and it'll tell you exactly where you need to improve in your golf game. It's 4 quick mobility tests that every golfer needs to pass in order to have a powerful, consistent swing and play pain-free golf. But less than 1% of the 12,000 golfers plus that we've tested pass all 4 of these tests. Not passing them leads to pain, swing faults, loss of distance and speed every single year. So click the link in the description and do our 5-minute assessment to see where you need to improve the most. And for a limited time, you can also get on a call with one of our experts free of charge to go over your results and what they mean for your golf game. Click the link below and try it out. Next one is going to help us actually rotate that trunk. So these ones are called palm touches. We're going to do this in your golf posture. So I'm getting set up as if I was going to hit a golf ball. Then my arms are going to come straight out to the sides. From here, my hands stay at armpit height, but it's really stretched out. I'm going to keep this one arm stretched out, and I'm going to turn my chest towards that arm and really try and get this palm to touch the other palm. To do that, you'll see I want to keep my lower body relatively stable, but I'm turning the chest. I'm trying to get this palm up to here. And as I do that, I feel a massive stretch through this side. Again, breathe. Then I can come back to the start position and then alternate. So this would be the follow-through side. I'm opening up, trying to get this palm to touch the other one. This shoulder, this top shoulder is going to move back a little bit, but you want to keep your head steady. And then I'm going to come under with the shoulder and turn the chest as I bring this palm to the other palm. Come back down and breathe. Alternate, hold that position. Initially, when you first start this, you may only get to about here. That's fine. As you get more mobility through here, hold the end range and work through that. Breathing, trying to actively reach a little bit further. So the more we can turn that trunk against the hips, the greater your ability to increase that disassociation between your lower and your upper half. That's where we're going to get more X factor stretch. So those palm touches, you're going to work through about 8 to 10 on each side. Okay? Make sure you hold that in range. Breathe through the 4-range of motion. Okay? The next exercise we are going to do is taking, you can use a golf club. I'm going to use a dowel because it's handy. All right? We are going to work at simply taking that, putting it across the shoulders. This is going to give you a visual reference. So we're going to do what we call hip disassociations. We've done them before with a pattern assist, meaning holding onto an object. So now we're leveling this up. We're not going to have an object to hold. All right, I want you to keep this really stable and try and open your hips to the left, open your hips to the right. So we're trying to get your pelvis not to move laterally. We're trying to get it to rotate like this. Okay, you can see I'm staying within my footprint and my hips are moving this way, but we want to do that without your trunk really moving at all. You can see I'm keeping that dowel really still as I rotate my hips and pelvis. So you can see here, this is not going to move, and I'm trying to rotate those hips nice and smooth, get them disassociating. Okay, so that's where we're going to get the hips moving separate of your trunk, having that control to really get that moving. Okay, so this might take some time, and it might take a lot of mental effort to just get this moving. Start with small movements of the pelvis, and as you get better control here, you can make the movements a little bit bigger. Okay, again, we're not moving laterally. We're moving pretty much just in a rotary fashion, keeping the head and shoulders and chest nice and stable. Okay, so those are our hip disassociations. Now we're going to put it together with this 4th exercise. I just simply call this a turn and step. Okay, so we're turning and stepping kind of at the same time. And this is where golfers can sometimes get a little disconnected, is that we're trying to move the trunk this way and get the lower body moving this way. So start slowly, turn the trunk, and think about turning that lead shoulder down as you step towards the target with your lead foot. So your upper body is going one way, and your lead leg and hip are moving in the opposite direction. This is where we're going to start to pull on that elastic and get some stretch. And I want you to hold that end position and feel like you're trying to open the hips for a second. And step, turn and step, and open the hips. Turn, step, and as I open the hips, I'm trying to keep my back to the target, so I'm not doing this. I'm not turning and stepping and opening the hips and trunk. Turn and step and open the hips. And I feel that through here and through here. A nice big stretch. So that turn and step and then open up. Turn, step, and open up. And you can do that 10 to 15 times, all right, to make sure you're feeling that disassociation between the upper and lower halves. So again, the X factor stretch, really big key in increasing your swing efficiency and speed, okay? So the hips have to be going one way, and then the trunk moves as well. In the downswing, the hips lead the way while the trunk stays right here, and we get that increase in the X factor. That's called the X factor stretch. That's where we're using that elastic energy. It's going to help you get a lot more effortless speed and power and distance in your swing. Hope you guys found that really, really helpful. If you did, give us a like, subscribe to our channel. That really, really helps us out a lot. And let us know what you'd like to see in new videos. I'll see you next time.